This is, by the way, a new branding logo. It's Intel Foundry. And basically, we are promoting it as a systems foundry for the AI era. Let me get into the details. So, as you might already know, 39% of all the US manufacturing actually has some kind of primary input from semiconductors. So you can see the impact of what most probably all of you out here are associated with semiconductor design, fab, support tools, whatnot. So you are actually contributing a lot to the entire economy. So that's a great job. And the chart on the left or your right basically kind of shows you like the impact of chip sales is directly tied to the GDP growth. So you can see like it correlates pretty well. So you can predict either way, like if the economy is running good based on chip sales or vice versa. This is a slide which, frankly, I came to know recently. So $1 in direct semi-sales, you can see that the impact. Eventually, it impacts 13.2% of the GDP, total GDP. And again, this number might be based in United States, but that impact is substantial. Think about the impact you're going to have, like all of you, anybody starting new versus people have been in the industry. So that's a tremendous impact. And as you can see on the chart on the right, the prediction is by 2030, semiconductor market would touch $1 trillion. So that's, if you see from 2021, it's almost double. So that's tremendous growth. We are pitching this new term called siliconomy. So everything is impacted by silicon or chips and whatnot. So that's what it is. And one important thing out here, I already mentioned 1 trillion, but the prediction is 30 to 50% of that market by 2030 will touch some form of AI ML. Maybe it's obviously AI ML application, but it will go into that kind of industry. So if you're planning to chart out your career, hey, that's where to go. You might already know about it, and some of the applications are already mentioned, like data center, mobile compute, automotive, networking, IoT, which are pretty obvious, but the growth can be in any one of them. So traditionally, we had the system-on-chip approach. All functions are on one single die. And now, if you see the middle graphic, it's basically system of chips. So you have like multiple chiplets, and that kind of, if you look at like all the new announcements, everybody is going in that direction. And one of the differentiation of that is, if you look at the cost, like, the old way of doing things, the cost per silicon chip is X amount. But obviously, it's also the throughput and performance, everything is much better. And at the same time, the power usage is obviously higher. So the last graphic kind of shows you it's going to be really, really complex to put everything together and make sure everything works fine. The power usage, the thermal issues, everything are taken care of. So this is where our partners such as Keysight come into picture. They are the ones who Intel Foundry works with on the EDA tool side, and they are the experts in their own domain. So I'll touch on that later on. But it's going to get really complex, but the good thing is if you're a designer, you still have a lot of work to do in the future. So that's a good thing. These are, like I already mentioned, power issues will be more obvious in the future. Then people have to think about memory and interconnect bandwidth. So if you have chiplets, you have you have to connect them, right? So there's something called UCIe protocol, which Intel kind of opened up, things like that. So there are a lot of new challenges, and you see on the right that kind of shows system technology co-optimization, STCO. So what that means is you have to really start thinking from and by the way, Intel can offer the entire flow if you want to, right? So right from like assembly and test and equipment, substrate optimization, EDA tools, vendors such as Keysight, software, we have something called One API, I'll touch quickly on that, and then application workload. So like anything you need on that chart, we can offer. So by the way, come to our booth if you have any detailed questions on that. So systems foundry for the AI era. Moore's law, everybody's familiar with that, and I'll just quickly go through that. But silicon, advanced packaging ecosystem, such as Keysight being our partner, that's always been there. And the new challenges with the chiplet integration is like memory interconnect, system architecture, software, and firmware. You really need to start thinking that early on. even though if you just focused, let's say you're just focused on one portion of the chip or section, you have to integrate that eventually at the system level. So you need to start thinking early on. Okay, this is the pyramid we always touch on, right? So this kind of summarizes all what Intel Foundry has to offer. At the bottom is basically we are a world-class foundry. Process node-wise, I mean, Intel has been doing this for a number of years. And we have quite a few offerings. I have a slide on that later on, but Intel 18A is something which we're driving actively right now, is the Angstrom era process node. And we have obviously internal projects going on, but Intel Foundry is outward focused, right? So we are working with potential customers to promote that technology. The second level of that pyramid is supply chain. So we actually have the most secure, sustainable, and resilient supply chain or manufacturing capabilities of any foundry. I have a chart of how geographically diverse our manufacturing is, but you can totally rely on us. Even during COVID, we never had supply chain issues at Intel. And then the top portion talks about packaging and test. Advanced packaging is becoming very important, especially for chiplets. It's like, we have, I'll touch on that, but kind of like just list some of the offerings we have, like EMIB, Foveros, a glass substrate which is coming up, which is very interesting, and test solutions. We also offer our custom test solutions. Okay, and UCIe and then one API. Actually, I'm going to skip pretty fast. I'm like running through time. So UCIe, again, important. Just read it up. It's open now. And it was started by Intel, and it's similar to PCIe Express, right? PCI, yeah. Intel is kind of making it open. This just gives you a graphic of where things fall. So again, I have like 5 minutes. I'm going to skip too quickly. Geographically diverse. We are all over the world. Manufacturing capabilities. RAMC, we are part of it, working very closely with the US government. Any questions, approach us. We have more than 35 ecosystem partners. Keysight is one of the important ones. And if you have any more questions, you can talk to them about the specific products that they offer. These are the process nodes that we're offering. One thing to keep in mind is, like, initially we had just major like Intel 18A or Intel 16 process nodes. Now the P stands for performance improvement, T is for TSV through silicon vias, and the E is for feature extension. So we're kind of making a little bit more customization of the process nodes based on your requirement. And all this can be offered, if you have any questions, you can let us know. Some of the new process technologies are like, we have ribbon feds, so FinFET and gate all around. FinFET was there and gate all around. So ribbon fed is what the term we are using for gate all around. And then power via. So we have the backside power via power supply, which is very, very important. And we are the first ones to offer the power via solution. If you are looking for like lower volume, we have something called Intel Shuttle program. So you can come to us if you have any additional questions on that. Sustainability is very important. And again, I'll leave it at this. We are pioneers in that. UCIe, this is like a really industry effort, right? So Intel actually made it open, and we made it available. We have a lot of partners who are working with on this protocol. And this is the main slide. So Keysight is a very important partner, EDA partner, and we have been working with them for a very long time. So basically, more than 2 years. So that's when we started our alliance program, our accelerator alliance program, and Keysight has been part of that EDA alliance program. The product that we have certified for the Intel 18A process and Intel 16 is the RF Pro, which is the EM circuit simulation environment for RF circuit designers. So that's something that has already been qualified, and there's a lot of ongoing activity, collaboration, working together. And again, that's available. Any detailed questions, approach the Keysight folks, great partners. And yeah, so we had some press on that as well. And that's it. That's my final slide. We are on second floor, booth 2337. And again, Systems Foundry for the AI era is our mantra right now. So any questions on the entire stack that I talked about, approach us and we can share more details, as well as any collaborative efforts with Keysight. So okay, great. That's it. Any questions? Let me know.
Do we have any questions before we do our drawing? Yes, right over here.
I want to see your comment on the UCIe
Uh-huh.
Is that becoming a standard of die-to-die interconnect, or that is just one of them?
So the question was
Yep.
UCIe. Is that becoming the standard for interconnect, or is that just one of them?
Well, that's something we actually made it open, right? So that's for industry to pick up and make it as numero uno, or like number one solution out there. Other solutions can be a little bit proprietary or like, based on that. So we can talk more, but yeah, that's the whole intention, like PCIe Express, and everybody's using it now, right? So the thought is same, like UCIe, we made it open, it's for everybody to use it. Collectively, we make it very solid and make it. So yeah, we can talk more on that. Yeah.
Any other questions? In that case, if you have any questions one-on-one, are you able to hang out for a couple minutes, or do you have to
Yeah,
jam?
no, I'll be here.
Great.